Hi guys, today I was going to read you a little bit from my Brian Froud book, Fairies. The realm of fairy. What is Faerieland? Its position is elusive. It is sometimes just over the horizon and sometimes beneath our feet. Yet there have been periods when Faerieland was thought to be an actual geographical area, although even this has tended to shift. For instance, the Welsh first thought it was to the north of their mountainous lands, and then in the mysterious rocky and misty west peninsula of Pembrokeshire. Later it moved to an island lying in the Irish Channel, off the Pembrokeshire coast. It was seen sometimes by sailors and even landed on, but would then disconcertingly disappear. Nevertheless, its fairy inhabitants were said to be frequent visitors to the markets of Laharn and Milford Haven. I did not say that right, sorry guys. The Irish called the Phantom Isle by High Brasail, and for them it lay to the west. To Britons it was the Isle of Man, and that was the Fairy Isle. The Isle of Man is a rich source of fairy lore. Avalon is probably the most famous of fairy islands. The legendary King Arthur, described by the poet Lydgate as a king ye crowned in fairy, was brought here mortally wounded to be tended by 4 fairy queens. Arthur is believed still to lie with his knights in the heart of a fairy hill, in a deep sleep from which he will awake in our hour of need again to rule over this land. Fairy can reveal itself bright and glittering without warning, anywhere, and just as suddenly disappear. Its frontiers of twilight, mists, and fancy are all around us, and like a tide running out, can momentarily reveal fairy before flowing back to conceal it again. The inhabitants of Faerieland can be divided into various different species according to habitat. In addition to the solitary living fairies, there are many rural elf types who make their homes in the forest, or sometimes more specifically adopt a tree to such an extent that the fairy and the tree become more or less synonymous. Fields, hills, and mountain caves. There are those that live on fairy islands or in countries under the oceans, while there are also water fairies inhabiting the seas, lakes, and rivers. Finally, there are the domestic and house spirits, brownies, and so forth. Amongst the various species, lifestyles vary considerably. Between the small family units, the hierarchically organized communities, often inhabiting hollow hills, and the solitary independent fairies such as the leprechauns. Okay, and I wanted to read you guys Faerieways. The fairy temperament is a complex one, and the behavior of the little people is governed by a code of ethics far removed from our own. Most fairies, whatever their size, appearance, or character, have powers of some kind and can bestow good or ill luck at will. So, the more we know about them, the more likely we are to emerge from an encounter unscathed. Careful handling and respect in fairy dealings are of paramount importance. Only too easily is offense taken, and woe betide he who is tempted to take liberties. The fairy tendency to be mischievous and sometimes spiteful, and in some cases positively dangerous, has resulted in the use of placatory terms when referring to them. Names like good neighbors, mothers, blessing, the good people, we folk, implying harmlessness. General behavior patterns amongst the fairies vary considerably, but some are indisputably inherently bad, and no amount of correct behavior, kindness, or wooing could conceivably mellow them. Indeed, it is positively dangerous to approach these creatures, Certain female fairies are particularly malevolent, made more deadly perhaps by their beautiful appearance, which entices unwary men to an untimely and horrible doom. While the realm of fairy is to a great extent dependent on the world of mortals, and many fairy beings, such as the brownies, actually attach themselves to human households. Banshees and buttery spirits could also be described as being attached to human households, but their motives are very different. The path towards a fairy amity is fraught with danger and should be trodden with extreme caution. Many are the helpful brownies who have reverted to the role of churlish and troublesome bogarts when offended or even teased, and terrible is the revenge of the fairy angered. And here's one of the pictures on the page. You can see they're all like very pretty looking, but not pretty looking at the same time.